Welcome back to another episode of an Investor's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan BRRRR. And in this episode, like I tell you, the point of this podcast is to share with you everything that we do step by step. So most recently, we've been picking up a few rentals here in San Antonio. And I wanted to share with you how we implemented what is more popularly known as the BRRRR strategy recently. So for those of you that don't know what BRRRR stands for, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and if you didn't lose your ass, repeat. So that last R is kind of optional for some people. But this deal came to us from a wholesaler. He brought it to us thinking that maybe it's a deal that we would want to flip or something along those lines. After running the numbers, it was kind of tight for a flip. And, well, not kind of. It was pretty tight for a flip. And we kind of were trying to negotiate with him, but he was being a cheap ass and didn't want to go down, which is fine. But, you know, it just didn't make sense for us at the time. And we were talking about it with John, and we were just kind of looking at the area. And this house is located on the west side by SeaWorld in San Antonio. So that area of town at this moment is getting a lot of redevelopment. There's a lot of highways, infrastructure, commercial buildings going up. A lot is going on that side of town. So we really like that, especially when it comes to real estate, right? We want to be in those areas that the city and investors and a lot of money is going into it. So we really like the area, but unfortunately, where we stand in our business at the moment, banks don't really want to lend to us. So the majority of our deals are flips and stuff like that. So when you look at our bank accounts, it's, really high, really low, really high, really low, because a lot of money goes out, a lot of money comes in. So banks don't they don't like that kind of, up and down from being in the business that we're in. So it makes it very hard for us to get financing. But we do have an investor friend of ours that he's bought quite a few properties from us. He's done deals with us. We know him. He's a really good friend as well, so we know him very well. And we decided to just go ahead and try to partner with him on this deal. And this is not a strategy that I recommend many of you use because it is high risk. When you're partnering with somebody on a long-term hold, you got to be partnering with the right person. You got to be partnering with a person that's not struggling with money, that's not struggling with their finances. Because if anything happens to them down the road, they're going to push, because usually when people get into trouble money-wise, they start liquidating their assets that are making money because it's the only thing that's worth anything. So you don't want that person getting into financial troubles and then trying to force you to liquidate the asset that you just acquired. That's maybe a hell of a deal, right? So you want to be very selective with who you partner with. And again, we're not recommending this strategy. This is something that we decided to do. But we know the guy. He knows us very intimately. He knows everything about our business. So we felt it was a good match. So what we did on this deal, in order to implement the BRRRR strategy, is when you refinance a loan, the loan needs to be, the person refinancing needs to have the loan under their name. So we couldn't buy the property ourselves, right? We couldn't do it because he can't refinance our property, right? That would be just traditional financing. So what we did is we got a money lender the same way that we would do it ourselves. Is instead, with our reputation and everything, the money lender trusted us enough to trust him. So they lent the money to him, which in turn obviously came to us. We bought the property, renovated the property, and he proceeded to refi. So I got the numbers written down here. So I want to go through all the numbers step by step with you guys so you guys see the process. So on this deal, we bought it for $130,000 plus closing costs. This also netted the wholesaler about $12,000. So he got his $12,000 and we got the property, right? The reason why we bought this house was because rehab on the house was, we were estimating at the time about $5,000. We spent maybe $6,000, on the property. But the house is a 1999 build, 2-car garage, 1,500 square feet. I mean, it's literally the bread and butter of rental properties, right? It's the best type of rental property you can get. And structurally, the house is in really good conditions. Everything about the house is really good. And it's something that's just going to last for years. So it just made a lot of sense for us to want to keep it. And with $5,000, the $5,000, or the $6,000 almost that we spent on this property, first we did an extreme deep clean on the house because they left a lot of crap behind, and the smell and everything was just it was pretty bad, right? We actually had some family member because they left so much crap that every time they leave so much stuff in the house, we always tell family and friends if they want to ransack the house, take whatever you want, because it's less that we got to spend on hauling it off. So we had actually family members go in and they're like, oh my God, what do you got to do? Demo the whole house, all because it was dirty and it smelled bad. So they thought we had to demo the whole house or do major renovations because of the smell and the look. This is good because this is what scares a lot of people, right? A lot of people, they go into a house that smells really bad and they freak out. I mean, shit, if I freaked out every time we went into a house that smelled bad, we probably wouldn't be in this business. So we did a very, very deep clean. We got all the trash out first. We got that done over a weekend. We did a very deep clean on the house. And we proceeded with doing a whole new coat of paint. We brightened it up a little bit, did a slightly lighter coat than was there. And we actually saved a little bit of money on the paint because our scheme usually is to try to go with a gray color scheme on it. And we wanted to do so, but it already had this darker beige on it, and we didn't want to go through the whole process of going through 2 coats of paint and everything to change the color. So we just went with the same color, just lighter, right? Because it matched everything that was already there. So we're like, look, this is a rental property. The color scheme is going to be fine. Everything is fine. We're not changing anything else. So why not save a little bit of money on paint? And we did. We saved a little bit of money because all they needed to do was really one touch-up coat of a lighter coat, and it looked awesome afterwards. We painted the trim so it really pops. The whole house is tile. There's no carpet, anything anywhere. It's all tile. Already had granite countertops. The cabinets were in really good conditions. The laundry room, we did put new tile in there because the floor was kind of screwed up. Fixed some shelving there. We did some landscaping, cleaned up the landscaping. And I mean, like some very minor cosmetic stuff. And that was really it. Like that was pretty much all we did to the house. And that's why it attracted us, right? So we put that money in, and then we put it for rent while we were going through the refinance process. We got it rented for $1,425 very, very quickly. I believe it was on the market for maybe 3 weeks. It got rented very quickly. Then we got it refinanced for 5% interest. So initially, backtrack a little bit, sorry. But when we bought the house for $130, we actually borrowed $144. Because the reason for this, at the time, we were looking at the numbers of an ARV after repair value of $175. But we felt that if it appraised for more, we wanted to make sure to be able to pull that out as well, right? So when you refinance, you want to be in it for at least 20%. And at 180, the 20% was roughly 144. So we borrowed the 144 with anticipating an appraisal of 180. So when we went ahead and refinanced, it appraised at 180. So we were able to pull out the 144. So that helped out. That was pretty good because essentially we were out of pocket at the moment, no money. The only thing we did come out of pocket for was to split the prepays. So the prepays are what creates your escrow. So it's 5 months of homeowner insurance and 6 months of property taxes on this one. So we came out that in the partner that we have, we split that cost, which was a total of $3,200 at a 5% interest rate. It leaves our PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, at $1,195. Once we rented it for $1,425, that cash flows roughly $230. We did not get a property manager on this one because it's not necessary for where we are at this moment in our company, where we can handle the maintenance ourselves, right? So it's not necessary at this moment to spend an extra 140, or for us it's an extra $100 to have a property manager there, right? Where all they're really doing is just taking calls and sending expensive ass repairmen whenever something's needed. We rather maximize profit on these deals as much as possible. So we'll manage it ourselves. Let me review this. So we did that. Yeah, so I mean, those are pretty much the numbers. We have about $36,000 in equity left in the property. So that's a good little cushion in case anything was to happen. We know we can dump the property right away and make our money and then some back, right? So it's a good property. But here's the reason why we wanted to keep it. So a lot of people, they look at 36 in equity, 230 in cash flow. It's not anything special, right? I agree. But what we're doing with this kind of property is long-term investing, right? So that is a chance, an opportunity that a lot of people are passing up here in San Antonio because they're looking for that massive paycheck today. So what we've done recently is this was our second, and now we just closed on our third one today for this same strategy, because we're looking at these properties in areas of San Antonio that from 180, where it's located, we anticipate that over the next couple of years, it's going to be worth about 220, 230 with the appreciation that area is getting, right? So that's a nice little chunk of change. And plus at 230, by the time it gets there, rents have gone up as well. So at that price point, this house should rent for $1,650, if not a little more. And at a mortgage payment of just under $1,200, your cash flow damn near doubles. So that's what we look at with these properties, and the same with the other two that we have. We have another one that we flipped. Well, the intention was to flip it, but once we were done, man, we were just looking at all the development. This other one is in the 35 corridor, heading up between San Antonio and Austin. So that corridor is getting redeveloped like crazy. And we did everything to the house. Everything's brand new. So that one, we did the same strategy. We decided to keep it. Because, again, we can sell it right now and make 20 grand, 30 grand maybe. Or we can hold it for a year, 2, 3 years, make the cash flow, and then sell it for, instead of making 20 grand now, maybe we can make an extra 20 on top of that. So we can probably sell it for 40 grand or 50 grand, right? But then it's over a year, so your taxes on that profit is capped at a 15%, I believe is right now. So you have long-term capital gains tax. So you're making more money in every scenario on that. Plus the cash flow, plus the equity pay down. I mean, there's a lot of pluses to doing it this way. The thing is that people don't want to wait. They want that instant paycheck, and that's where it's causing a lot of problems for people with finding deals. We don't struggle with finding deals because we have so many different strategies that we can implement. And fortunately, with this strategy, it's allowing us to buy multiple properties. So now we're on the third one. Ever since we started, I mean, we're kind of on ballpark of picking up a rental a month right now. So, and we're analyzing another one right now for, again, the same strategy. So anything in San Antonio for us that at this present moment is worth around the 170 price point, we want to hold on to. 170, 140 to 170. We want to hold on to because the next roof that's going to hit is 200. You understand? And then even from then, the next roof after that, it's like 230, 240. So that means that there's a lot of room for that to grow because home affordability is a huge issue in San Antonio. So every time houses become available at that price point, we flipped one right now for $155. That thing went on the contract in like 3 days. I mean, that price point is so hot. That one we didn't keep just because it didn't make sense. We didn't like the house. There was still a lot of stuff in that house that we just didn't like. So we're like, it didn't make sense for long term. But this one is definitely a deal that we might keep for, ideally forever, because a 99 build, the way this one's built and the way it performs, this is a house that I think is going to be a really, really nice moneymaker. But if we needed to, we can sell in a year or two at a substantial win, So that's why we do this. So yeah, I mean, I gave you all the numbers, what we bought it for, what the rehab was, what the interest rates, what the monthly payments are, what our cash flow is. So that's pretty much how we did it. The refinance process took a little longer just because, we have multiple properties and it just dragged on a little bit, title and all that crap. But other than that, everything went smooth. Everything came exactly as we anticipated it to come. The same with all the other properties. They refinanced exactly where we were thinking it was going to refi. All in all, it's going very well right now. That's all the info. That's everything, how we did our BRRRR strategy. So you guys can kind of compare notes maybe if you're thinking of doing it, seeing how it flows. I'll go ahead. I mean, the last thing, we held it for 2 months, all said and done. Between purchase and refi out, it was about 2 months. The investor was happy. They got their money back really quickly, plus their interest. They were excited. All in all, great deal. That's about it right now. That's pretty much what happened with this deal. So if you guys have any questions, if you feel that I left anything out or you're curious about any of these points, make sure to hit me up. Let me know. I'm reachable everywhere. Social media, find me at John BRRRR everywhere. So private message me on Instagram and I'll answer any questions you have. Keep watching our podcast. Keep sharing it. I love the feedback and all the questions you guys are sending in. And as we go through more deals and we do more crazy shit, I'll make sure to update you guys and let you know what's going on. So I appreciate the support and I'll catch you guys on the next one.